we've got Ben Kay with us, head groundsman at Chorley FC. You probably all recognise Ben from his recent bit of publicity, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, you name it.
Milking it.
Milking it, that's the one. For his exploits as groundsman at Chorley recently with their FA Cup game against Derby, where Ben had a little camping trip to make sure the game was on. And I believe apart from the night overnight, it was successful. You did what you stayed over to do, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, it was all important just to get the game on, really. Beginning of the week, we had a big news that Derby had actually a COVID outbreak in the first team.
Yeah.
So again, now the pressure's building, like the chairman's at it now, we need to get this game on, etc., etc. So we'd already pre-organised to have the tent to go up from the stadium and sports guys. Yeah, so we pre-arranged that. On the Saturday the week before, we had two more inches of snowfall. So that even caused to the more problems because we've already got a frozen pitch at this time with probably an inch of snow on top of that. So we're talking a frozen pitch with 3 inches of snow. Nice. So I ring Nigel, speak to him, and he said, "Listen, sent him a few pitches and said I better get up there tomorrow, Ben." So I met him on the Sunday night, and he said, "Listen, I'm going to speak to the lads now. They need to get up on Monday." So brilliant by them. Straight up there on Monday. Tent was up. Tent was set up. Tent was then blown up Tuesday, and since then we were just trying to obviously thaw the football pitch. Yeah. So we weren't just protecting it; we also had a job to thaw it out. So it just made everything doubly difficult. So we was just up against it all week. I mean, the temperature was shocking. We never had any help with the environment, etc. I think on the Friday before the Saturday game, another 2 or 3 inches of snow fell. So that was just draping the tent down and holding like the sides down. So we couldn't get the air and the heat to where we needed it. Yeah. So that was kind of why we made the decision then that we needed to stay over and sleep with a tent, because what we did then was the way the water was holding the corners down, we then actually got do you know the free kick mannequins? Or the lads practice a free kick. So we pushed them right into the corners. And we had these little space heaters, so we were just literally manning those all night, just to make sure that the wind didn't get in and blow the mannequins over, which would then have obviously fell onto the heaters and burned big holes in it. So so that was kind of the what we did and the task we had set for ourselves. I mean,
it's almost like it wasn't supposed to be with everything that was going on.
Honestly, mate, even this week, I think someone's trying to kill me off because we've had all this rain and that. I mean, I think I've had 1 or 2 dry days in about 14.
We'll come back onto the FA Cup stuff in a minute. So, from our point of view, at the Turf Care blog, we're ideally looking to kind of get a little bit of insight from you, from your level. So, Turf Care blog set up for both professional and grassroots groundsmen. So, this is, in my opinion, one of the better interviews that we're going to do because you're a nice kind of blend of being in both. So you've got a nice semi-pro-ish kind of standard of football. You're the head groundsman yourself, and you're paid in that role as well. And your experience as well that comes with it. So obviously you're also helping out at a cricket club, I believe, as well. Which is all part and parcel of being a grassroots groundsman, isn't it? You know, you share your time thinly across the floor and try and get as much done as you can.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I probably get this quite a bit, like, because I'm probably generally a nice guy. People try and like push on me a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So they'll say to me like, "Ben, can you come and do this?" And I literally can't say no. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm always there to help certain people. I mean, Conference North is actually classed as elite football, so the class is the same as the Premier League and that.
Oh, brilliant, yeah.
So it's not really grassroots. Again, like, probably look at the equipment pool that we actually have, you would say we're probably less than grassroots because we only have the 2 mowers and that. I mean, I'm pushing all the time for us to invest, and fortunately the club have actually seen that they're going to back me now, and we're going to get some decent equipment in, like the tractor, the quadruplane, little things, verti-drainer and that. So obviously on the back of the good cup run, we've had some money in
facilitating, wasn't it?
Going. So we actually spend, instead of wasting it like we have done in the past, we're actually going to spend it on stuff that's for the future.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's And that's what it's about. So when I mentioned the grassroots side of it, we were talking in reference to the machinery side of it. Obviously, your level is a little bit higher than a few people will be on the group, but also your level is going to be lower than a few people on the group as well. So it is a nice balance for us to speak to you and be able to get an impression of what it's like in that kind of middle range of standard in terms of the football, in terms of the machinery, your job, how you find it, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go through all that throughout the next kind of 20-25 minutes. So start us off, having said that we want to kind of discuss the stuff that's important to Groundsman. So start us off and tell us when your time at Chorley started and what you were kind of faced with at the start.
Yeah, so I think I've been at Chorley now 3 years. I did a couple of years part-time. I did have a full-time job as head groundsman up at the Fullwood Academy in Preston. That was a that was a high school. So just a normal high school, nothing posh, not a grammar school or anything. So again, we had a basic pool of machinery.
Just up the road from Fullwood Amateurs.
Yeah, that's the one.
Done a little bit of work up there myself with, I can't remember the chap's name that was the chairman. We did some verti training for him, but yeah, go on, sorry.
Yeah, so it's pretty close to there, mate. And again, it's just a high school, just maintain the grounds and that. But I was also good friends with the Chorley manager, Jamie Vermiglio. Yeah. So he was constantly pestering because I've always been involved in non-league football. I mean, I left school and went playing football as a living, then went into non-league. So I've always known Jamie really well. So they kept pestering, listen, Ben, we need a groundsman. So I was actually the assistant manager, Clitheroe FC in the Unibond Division 1 it was. So I had to then leave that role to then commit to doing the Chorley part-time because I don't think they had a groundsman on the site when they had games, etc. So no divoting was done after the game or half-time and that. And again, we're playing at a good standard. It's Conference North football. We're playing against some really good former league clubs and that. So the expectation and the standard is really high. So yeah, did that part time for 2 years, and then an opportunity come about that they wanted to employ kind of. My job title is actually facilities manager because what we do is we look after the ground, we look after all the kit. So literally everything that needs doing in the day, I kind of do as well as looking after the pitch. So as you can imagine, you can get literally torn from, Ben, can you just do this? Ben, I need this. Ben, I need that. Why are you trying to cut the pitch?
Grassroots club, mate. There we go again.
Exactly. So like cutting the pitch could take you 2.5 hours. Usually it's taking me 5, 6 because I've got to just go and nip this. One of the players is ringing me up. Ben, where's my boots? I'm like, do you know what I mean? So you can get pulled from pillar to post and that. But no, absolutely love it. I mean, again, I was brought up with football, always been involved with football, and I see it as an absolute privilege, really, and an ideal role that the role I fill within the football club.
Yeah. And tell us about, obviously you say you started 3 years ago. Tell us about the kind of condition of the pitch that you found when you arrived, obviously, and where you felt the improvement was needed to or if there was improvement needed to kind of get it to the standard that you wanted it to be at.
So when I first started, I think we had a game on the Tuesday, and then I started the following Monday. And I don't think the pitch had been touched after the game. So as again, you can imagine, it was full of divots, ruts, and that. Up at Chorley, we're built on ash and cinders. So down the touch lines, it can really divot really bad and that, and leave really big impressions, foot marks, and that. So my first day, first couple of hours, because again, I've been to work, gone after work. First couple of hours is trying to do what I can to put the pitch back. Yeah. Again, the pitch still needs a lot of investment in it. We don't have any drainage in there. We don't have any sprinkler system. The pitch is heavily used. We have 3 teams on it. So we have the first team on it, the under-21s on it, the B-Tech play games on it through the midweek. So I could have a game on a Saturday for the first team. The 21s could play it on the Sunday. We could then train on it the Tuesday. The B-Tech could play on it the Wednesday. We train on it the Thursday. And then if we were home again on the Saturday, that's kind of what was happening, probably from up until December. Obviously, COVID got worse and worse. So what happened was our junior team stopped training. So we now use their facility. But for a 3-4 month period, I think we'd used the pitch 50 times. And as you can imagine...
I was going to say, and again, that's a reflection on how things work at obviously, as you can imagine, semi-pro
Yeah,
level, and it's just a bit of a free for all, isn't it? In terms of obviously there's schedules and there's a bit of structure there, but in terms of you actually being able to get on there and do some work as a groundsman, what people probably don't appreciate is that it is quite minimal in between
yeah,
all the other teams you've got and all the training sessions you've got and all the rentals that you've got on the pitches. Some weeks it could be down to 1 day a week.
yeah. It is, mate. And the thing is that people don't actually see that unless you're actually involved with the football club. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very worried that, like on Friday, we have this game against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I've not been able to get on the pitch at all. So you're going to get judged on what people see on BT and on the television, but they actually don't know the day in and day out of what actually has gone on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll just tell you a quick story that we played AFC Fylde on Boxing Day at home. Then the storm, I think it was Storm Ella, came in on the 27th. It snowed. Then they had a frozen pitch for 10 days. So I didn't actually have a mower on the pitch from the 24th of December. We played AFC Fylde. I couldn't get on the pitch afterwards because of the rain. And we played on the same pitch we played against Derby as we played against AFC Fylde. And them are the things you're just constantly up against. I mean, again, people say, where's your frost covers? Yeah, we've got frost covers, but there's only me and I have no tractor. I have no help to drag them on. We're literally begging volunteers to come out that aren't allowed to come out because of COVID, etc. So it's just a constant uphill battle. But what I do like is I like having the challenge and trying to succeed.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You'll see it on Friday. It's not the best pitch in the world, but at this moment in time, it's all about just producing a pitch that can be played on to keep the games going.
You can get to.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Essentially, this is the kind of, as you just touched on there, this is the kind of problem that we've got, I suppose, below anything below maybe League Two level, is that you see all these amazing, nice green pitches on Sky and on BT and on BBC and on ITV. And the commentators say how lovely they look and how well presented they are, but they don't tell you the story of how they got to that stage. They don't tell you the investment that they made, for example. They don't tell you whether you were only on the pitch for 1 day a week. They don't tell you whether there was frost on the pitch or snow on the pitch for 10 days in a row. So all these guys that are interviewing you, as good as that is for the publicity of the club and for you yourself, it'd be nice if they told the story of the process that, like you've just talked to us through there, of how you've got to presenting that pitch for Derby and how you're going about doing it now for Wolves as well, which is, in my opinion, and it might sound a little bit sad, but from a groundsman's opinion, that's the stuff that people should really know about, because I suppose that's the important bit. That's the bit that, you know, these people that see it, they'll go back to their club and go, well, why can't we have that? You know,
well, do you know what? I've actually had it today, mate. I mean, I've got Blackburn Rovers fans tagging me in tweets and all sorts, saying like, if Chorley can do this, why can't we do it? And people don't actually realise that we would never have that tent if it was a normal league game.
Yeah.
I mean, the FA subsidise quite a bit of the funding towards in that, but we see the bigger picture that it's actually we need to have that on to keep the pitch in a decent condition and that. Yeah. But like I say, people just see what they want to see in that. So it is a shame in that. But this is why I like to, as you can probably see, I'm quite like, not vocal, but I like to send tweets out all year round, because I like people to see how the pitch develops through the year. I mean, we posted a picture on Tuesday. So what we did, we've had Derby at home, Leamington at home on the Tuesday, Thursday Celtic at home on the Saturday, and then Wolves at home on the Friday. So on the Tuesday at Leamington, what happened was, because of the heaters from the tent, the tube had fallen on the ground and burnt some big kind of circles in. Yeah, so like, the lads are saying, Ben, that picture looks well. I'm like, well, I can't hide it. Yeah. I said, I'm just showing you the pitch as it is. Do you know what I mean? And and for me, there's nothing worse than a summer's groundsman who, do you know what I mean? We can all make a cow field, we have stripes and that in middle of summer, but people want to see it develop and that. Yeah. And I do realise that people are bored of me, etc. and certain, but that's the way I like. I like people to actually see the journey that you're taking, and maybe explain a little bit of what's actually going on with your pitch. Know what I mean?
And it's good. It's good that you've explained that, because I think people do see you from the social media side. So the people that probably knew you before, the majority of which probably knew you from Twitter, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because like you just explained there, and as I've seen myself, it's good to build a pitch and it's good to build a story, and it's all well and good people throwing out really nice stripes in the summer when it's just been fertilised and you had a week of rain the week before and it's nice 25 degrees the week after. It's perfect conditions. It's the easiest time to put a picture out there. And like you say, if you're brave enough to, as a groundsman, to show the process of these things, that it isn't all sunshine and daisies in the field. It's a little bit more hard work than that, and things that go into it. So I think that's important for people to see, and it's good that we've got a groundsman at your level that's willing to do that, because I think what we've got is, at the moment, we've got a balance of what you'd probably call a new age groundsman. So people in your age bracket and my age bracket that are wanting to have qualifications and wanting to do things properly, and if they've not got qualifications, wanting to gain as much experience as possible. And we've grown up with having social media there to throw things out there when we feel necessary, whereas the old guys that are just as experienced and just as knowledgeable didn't have that facility to share their story.
Yeah, of course,
It's really good to have that. So I'm going to come on to the process in terms of that derby game. So that interests me, obviously, you've mentioned that there's only 2 mowers available at Chorley, which is really interesting. I suppose with that, the grants are not as as readily available for machinery grants. So you get machinery grants at lower level, don't you? So grassroots level. I think our club took the option of one of those last year. But when you get past a certain step, that then becomes unavailable. So you can imagine at the moment, this FA Cup run is giving you the opportunity to facilitate, like you said, attract a quadruple. Just tell us what that's going to be able to do for you that you can't currently do at the moment.
Well, it's obviously going to be massive. I mean, like I said, we're going to buy the Vertidrain. Absolutely perfect for the football pitches, as you know. What you probably don't realise is that we actually look after 2 schools which are just around the corner for us that we use as our training bases for the kids.
Right, okay.
So that would help in obviously opening them up, running the quadruplay over when needed, etc. So it opens up a new world. I mean, even to go down the route of get a trailer, we can do a bit of contracting work for people, etc. So you're obviously always putting money back into the football club. I mean, I always get asked this question, like, Ben, what's your budget for your pitch? Well, I'll be honest with you, mate, we don't have a budget. We have a budget when we have money. Do you know what I mean? Like, my chairman never says to me, right, Ben, you've got £20,000, that's for your year, your renovations. I mean, we spent 1,500 quid on our renovations in the Conference North. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely nothing. Like, we didn't even have any sand put on the pitch because of where we was at with COVID. We didn't want to spend money we didn't actually have and that we needed in other places. So what I find is that in our industry at our level, we're kind of the people that get knocked back on. Well, just cut the pitch, it'll be all right, etc. Like you said, you're probably talking thousands of pounds on fertiliser programmes, and we just can't afford that. Luckily, we have a guy who runs a Green Thumb franchise, so we get a lot of products off him for literally free. He puts a few boards up and that, and he helps me where he can. I mean, he loans us the pedestrian slitters and the spikers and that. So he's been unbelievable with us. But them are the type of relationships that we need to have just to survive and keep the games going, because we've never had that money before to spend on tractors, etc., mowers. So I'm made up that the club now are backing me in that, and it's an investment because that machinery then can last you a good 10, 20 years as long as you look after them.
And just on that, what people, again, probably not necessarily don't realise but probably don't appreciate is that once you go past a certain stage of football in England, you become very reliant on gate receipts. So people walking through the door and buying tickets. And once COVID hit, obviously, as you can imagine, people weren't allowed to come into the ground anymore. So then it pretty much took up a good 95% of people's budgets in your kind of bracket of football. And on that basis, like you say, you can't forecast a budget. if you've not got
No.
anything coming in. Whereas the guys that are a little bit lower down in terms of grassroots football, they can be supported by the FA and by the government for being a business. But that's not possible when you go a little bit further up. So there's that little bit of balance for people to kind of appreciate that. Just some background on it from what you just said there, that you're very reliant at your level on gate receipts.
Well, the thing is now, I mean, what we did was the league actually agreed to fund the clubs for so long.
Yeah.
So I think the clubs at our level were getting £30,000 from lottery funding to keep your club going.
Yeah.
But then your £30,000 is paying your players and paying your staff who work around you. So there's no like surplus money in that pot then to go and say, right, well, we're going to spend £300-400 on fertiliser or things like that, or grass seed, whatever we need, sand. So so it's always been a struggle. I mean, £30,000 doesn't, when you think about it, doesn't really stretch that far over a month. But what they've done now, they've done a massive U-turn, haven't they? And said that you can have the 30,000, you can have the money, but you have to pay it back now. So now it's looking like, I mean, from our point of view, and I probably might be talking out of turn here, but I don't think our Chorley FC want to carry on playing in the league, because we don't want to rack up a debt of £150,000 over the next 6 months to then having to pay it back, when in 6 months' time we won't even know if crowds are going to be back in. So our main source of income isn't there.
Balance. You're right.
Yeah.
You're just about to say it is that balance of being able to appreciate the value of people being able to buy a ticket and walk through your door, but for the league to offer you, inverted commas, 30 grand and then say, oh, by the way, we want that back. Well, it's a little bit of a backhand compliment, isn't it? Because in reality, it's not providing you with anything, and it's not it's nothing in terms of providing a guaranteed kind of longevity to the processes at the club.
Yeah. No, it's not, man. The thing is, the way it's been dealt with, if they'd have said that in the first place, like, listen, we'll start the season, but whatever money we give you, you have to pay back. No way the season would have ever started, because club, there's no way, there is no income in football at the minute to justify us carrying on.
Yeah.
So again, like, the frustrating thing, and I know it's all down to money, TV, etc., but when you see the millions being spent, etc., at the highest level on football players and that, and then the grassroots and the lower elite football like we are, is struggling, it just makes you wonder what actually is going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like, because without us, like, the higher tier of football doesn't survive.
Correct. And it's the ground up, isn't it? It's that kind of principle. And being able to support clubs from the ground up, and it's something that the FA have been kind of badgered about, I suppose, and probably more so before COVID hit, about if you probably remember the discussions they were having with a billionaire, I should say, about selling Wembley for 400 million or 500 million pound. And then they released reports of where that money was going to be distributed, and there was very little that was going to be given to clubs at your level and below. And it's something that the FA needs to get better at, because ultimately, you know, like you said, from the bottom up, ultimately it needs to be strong from the bottom for it to be strong at the top. Yeah,
of course it does. I mean, if you worked out how much it would actually cost to keep our season going, you're probably talking 4 or 5 million. I think I might be plucking this number out there, but I'm sure it was like 4 or 5 million for the season to run with the funding, etc.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's that in the big world? You know, these big football clubs. I mean, they spend that on average football players these days. So.
And I don't want to drag you into any trouble. We'll move on quickly. So you touched on drainage. Now, the drainage side of things is quite important, isn't it? I suppose from your level, because ultimately, if you've got drainage, you've got flexibility to be able to do more and withstand more, I suppose. And the fact that you guys don't have any at the moment at your level, what kind of impact do you think? Obviously, do you think that has on you? And would it be of benefit for you to kind of look at that as an investment, as well as if it can be afforded, as well as the machinery, or would you say one or the other?
I think the key thing for us is actually getting the machinery, getting the verti drain. As long as we keep it open, the pitch, like, quite often, probably every 4 or 6 weeks, we tend to not get any games called off with rain. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable. It drains unbelievable, the pitch. There are a couple of areas that sit quite low, and that. So ideally, what we would want is to literally get it all ripped up and get it all leveled off, etc.
Yeah.
Have the runoff, maybe have the kind of bit of a camber in the middle, sloping away, etc. But no, I've never had a game called off for rain in 3 years, believe it or not. I think I've had 2 games called off, and they've both been for snow, which really can't really do much about it unless I start shoveling like a week before. Do you know what I mean? But
and that in itself is again, it's different everywhere, I suppose, and it's you've got some what sounds like natural drainage in terms of it goes somewhere else, or you might be a little bit higher up, or it might be on a slight a bit of a slope for it to travel down. Whereas other people, if they didn't have drainage on their pitches, as you can appreciate, would be without football. So you're lucky in that aspect then, that you've not got drainage, but you don't suffer too much with whether affecting the outcome of a game being on or not.
No, it's totally like it goes from one extreme to the other, because then in summer we struggle then to hold any moisture actually in the pitch and that. I mean, a couple of years we did actually have the pitch corralled off and that. So without them, we don't have the pop-up sprinklers. So what we do is we have the 2 10,000 litre drums, and I call it a fireman's hose that we drag out, and it does the full length of the pitch, and it can do a third of the pitch. And I promise you now, we took the pitch off do you remember when that summer we had 7 weeks of no rain whatsoever, and I had a full-time job up at Fullwood. I was doing that part-time, and it was the hardest 7 weeks of my life. I was literally getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning before the sun came on, went to Chorley, literally emptying the tanks because it wouldn't hold the moisture, and then going back at 10 o'clock at night and doing that. I mean, how my wife never divorced me, I'll never know, mate. But it was.
It is a battle. It is a battle, and like you said it perfectly. Catch-22. It is a problem in that when you do get money to do a renovation of that kind of level at level and at grassroots level, what people don't appreciate is that grass doesn't grow without water, and somebody has to be there to water it if you've not got a sprinkler system. And so I've been there at 10 o'clock at night trying to drag a hose across a football.
It's daunting, isn't it?
It's not the best, and it's a little bit depressing, but the results that come of it, it's rewarding, isn't it? Because ultimately you've done something, and you've gone above and beyond, a bit like camping out on the pitch, and you've got a result for it, and I suppose that's why we do it.
Yeah, but again, no, like, I mean, a lot of people say, listen, you might have camped out on the pitch, but you was only doing your job, which is right and that. But like, what other area would you expect somebody to actually sleep there? So, I mean, I was there from 6 in the morning from the Friday, and I only got home at 6 o'clock on the Saturday night. So I'd done what's that? That's like 36 hours non-stop at work. I mean, I tell you, I did actually nip home for an hour to say bye, to say night to the kids, and tell the wife, listen, I'm not having an affair. I'm going to be sleeping on the pitch, like. But so
having an affair on the pitch instead.
Yeah, well, that's it. She always says to me, I've never any trouble with like you running off with anybody because you love your grass too much. So yeah, mate. But the thing is, like, it's just your job, and any one of us, if we knew that. Listen, all the pressure was on because we was potentially playing a derby under 18s, 23s team. So that game had to go. Any one of us would have done exactly the same. It's just that obviously the story got out, and it's just kind of ballooned from that, like.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll go into some general kind of groundsman discussion for the last kind of 10 minutes in a moment. So before we do that, the idea of the tent, when people are going to kind of be berating me if I don't ask about a little bit more about the build up to the derby game. So the idea with the tent, you mentioned it briefly earlier on. When did you know that was going to be necessary? B, how did you source it? Because other people might be wanting to know about it. And obviously you've said that the FA have contributed to the cost of it. Without it, would the game have been on?
Without it, the game, it'd still be frozen now, if I'm honest with you. But no, so what happens is when you get at our level, when you get a televised game, the FA actually come to you and say, listen, we're going to put this tent up on your pitch, but you need to contribute. I think £4,000, I think it is. I think could be totally wrong here, but it's a lot more than that. But they said to you, give us £4,000, we'll literally ensure that your game's kind of on. Right. Yeah. So they come to us and said, listen, £4,000, bring the tent. We'll get it up, game will be on. So obviously we've got a frozen pitch the 10 days prior when he comes to do his kind of, his checklist, his checks of pitch size, what tent do we need, what does he recommend.
Yeah.
So it's all in place and that. So it was just a matter of getting in touch with Nigel up at Stadium Sports and saying, listen, Nigel, I think we need you now, mate. Like, we will commit to that money and then just get this game on. Because in the grand scheme of things, that game gets called off. You're either losing your TV money, which was £65,000, which is a massive amount for us, or the game gets postponed to the Wednesday, then you're playing Derby County's first team. So then it's a totally different ball game again. So then it's like, listen, the tent goes up and that, they bring it, they kind of man it, so their lads stay there. What it does, it inflates. So on our occasion, they blow hot air into it. I think we was going through 20 bottles of gas a day, which is probably about £1.50. I don't have they told me it was £100 a bottle, was doing 20 days. So as you can imagine, 5 days of that, you're talking an extra 10 grand. So you can see the grand scheme of things. You're actually getting your game on, but with a little bit of investment and a little bit of help, it's massive for us because of, first of all, we get the TV money. We gain the winning money. So there's a winning pot and a losing pot, which is a £40,000 difference. So again, we've won. So now we're £40,000 better off than that. So the tent is unbelievable. But I do know that they have a central contract with the rugby union guys, don't they? So whenever there's a rugby union game on the on Sky, they're literally, Nigel and his team are on that pitch prior to make sure that game goes on. Because what the BT guys don't want is 3 hours of no TV.
Absolutely, and live TV that they've invested a lot of money in.
Yeah,
and that, I suppose that is where the FA come into their own, in that when they know that money's involved of a bigger level, they're happy to kind of support people, which is a little bit frustrating as well as good. But it depends how many games you get televised on TV throughout the year. You know what I mean? It can't be that many at your level. And this FA Cup run, the fact that you've had Derby on the TV and you're going to have Wolves on the TV as well, plus the opportunity to have 2 times 65 grand is pretty much on it.
Alex, this time it's 85.
Is it? There you go then. Yeah.
So the further you go, I think the more it goes up, and that, because obviously there's more time, etc. There's more people watching it as it goes. So again, mate, it's well.
More interviews.
I can't get any work done at the minute.
So we'll go on to a couple of general questions and then we'll call it time. I don't want to hold you too much. So from your perspective, in terms of just being a groundsman and obviously being in the environment constantly, immersing yourself within it, you've sat back and you've kind of seen, certainly over the last 3 years since you've been at Chorley, a standard of football pitch. Has the standard improved? Do you think in your time that you've been at Chorley in a bigger scheme, not just at your level, maybe above, maybe below, and why do you think that is?
Listen, I don't want to be big-headed about this, but I do think the standard of the pitch at Chorley has got better. I mean, all the fans tell me that. I'm one of them. When I'm doing it, I do it properly, etc. I turn up at training. When the lads are training, move them out of areas that I don't want them to train in, etc. They're always going mad at me, saying, "Ben, why don't you just go home?" So I'll go and work all day, and then I'm back at train. Just because it plays on my mind, because I know that if I'm not there, they're going to be doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and that. So it's like, again, it's like I invest all my time into, which sometimes probably is a bit wrong, because I do. Probably the family time does kind of get affected because of it and that. So he's trying to find the right balance. But yeah, so I do believe that the pitch has got better. It shows that obviously now we've got a bit of money that the chairman and the owners, directors, etc. are going to back me because of that. In general, I think football pitches have come on hell of a lot over the last probably 5-10 years. It's actually kind of a job that people want to try and get into nowadays, where maybe in the past, and that, again, it's not very well paid, etc. It could be a lot better in that terms, but people actually see it as a job that's actually quite interesting, and people are going into the industry wanting to become good groundsmen and do as best as they can with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of your level of football,
Yeah,
This is going to be a little bit of maybe a controversial one for you. So
go on.
your level of football, give us who you feel at this moment in time, without trying to blow smoke at your own backside, who you think is going to be the best pitch at your level at this moment in time. Chorley FC.
Well, nah, no, mate. Listen, like I said, at the minute, it's just about getting games on. You'll see it on Friday. The pitch isn't the best. It's quite thin and that, but it's like again, beginning when COVID started, we made the decision that we'll train on the pitch to save money. And that's what I've had to deal with all year round. The pitch will get battered. You just need to keep them games being played. We played, but we did play up at AFC Fylde. I must say, Tony has done absolute wonders with that pitch. Unbelievable, mate. I mean, the setup's unreal. I do think and this is no disrespect to anybody prior to Tony, but they've had a couple of years where it's really struggled. We went up let me think, on the 2nd of January. It was snowing. It was freezing. Again, I think he works on his own, probably has some help with one or two. Pitch was unbelievable, mate. So fair play. From what I've seen at the minute, again, another one which is brilliant is Telford's. But I do know Telford spent a lot of money in the summer on it, but it still looks unreal at the minute. So so probably the best two pitches I've been to this year are Telford and Fylde. Probably Fylde because of the time of the year.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've been up to Fylde myself, so I've been able to see that for myself, and wholeheartedly agree on that. It's he's doing an amazing job up there. But just on something you touched on there, do you feel like the investment that clubs are making now in terms of for groundsmen and in groundsmen and in pitches has improved over time in terms of, let's say, the last 10 years, or do you think it's similar to how it used to be?
I think it has improved because football's evolved, hasn't it? I mean, 10 years ago, you wouldn't see Edison playing out from the back, would you, trying to play football and that? And managers have got into this kind of this thinking that, right, every pitch we need to play football on. So I think a lot of teams are thinking, do you know what? And it's nice though as well. You turn up to a nice ground and that you see a nice pitch. I always say this when I was a player, it gives you that extra 10%. And I always say this to the lads, like when you turn up and you come to Victory Park and you see all the nice stripes and that, you're then buzzing for that game. Do you know what I mean? So if I went to a team and I turn up and it's an absolute mud bath, I'm thinking, God, can't wait till 5 o'clock and we're on the bus home. Do you know what I mean? So it's like kind of just giving that lads that little bit of extra boost, I feel. But I think that the pitches have come a long way in such a short time.
And it's good, like, just before we move on to the next one, it's good that clubs are starting to see the benefit of investing in pitches, because I know there was a time when as long as people could walk on it, never mind run on it, they'll happily play football on it kind of thing. And they've realised that, there's been a bigger appetite now, and this is the benefit of seeing it on the TV. The bigger appetite that people have got to have a pitch at that kind of level, although they don't know necessarily the process, they realise it's going to take more money. I suppose that is the benefit of seeing it week in, week out on Sky and on BT. To you guys, to us at grassroots level, clubs and chairmen and investors are starting to see that without a pitch, it doesn't matter how many players you play. If the pitch isn't good enough, football doesn't get played on. Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, and I go back to budgets, etc. But what do people actually, at our level, expect a budget to be? Do you know what I mean? I agree that every pitch is different and that, but listen, you're talking 20 grand minimum for me, right? To have actually a decent pitch, to spend the renovation of what you actually need. Obviously, you're going further and further into the thousands if you're having drainage, you're having it levelled off, corralled off every year, drainage systems put in, irrigation systems put in. But sometimes it's just got to be, listen, you've just got to manage with what you've got. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thankful I've got a job. Many people have lost their jobs in the industry because of COVID. A lot of people are still on furlough and that. And I just make do. I'm not one who'll go and push the chairman. Listen, I need 10 grand for this. I need 2 grand for that, because I actually understand how the football club works. The money is better spent sometimes in other areas. So I just make do. I just try my best and make do and keep the pitch playable.
Perfect. So we'll just do 3 quick fire questions. You just give us a quick, short, blast answer to it the best you can. I'll put you on the spot with a couple of them, so prepare yourself. So at this moment in time, who do you think, in terms of the Premier League, has got the best football pitch at this moment in time?
I'll have to go for my mate.
If you watch them on the TV, you're saying that one. That's brilliant.
My mate Jacko up at Man City.
City, perfect. What's that next one there? Give me a second. What does it take? So tell me briefly, if I'm coming into the industry as a groundsman, what are you saying the 3 points are that it takes to be a groundsman?
Oh, well, you've definitely got to be motivated. You've got to be prepared for the long hours, and really just give it everything. If you put everything, do the simple things right, and that you'll only benefit from having a decent pitch.
Spot on. And what's your goal in the industry? So obviously at this moment in time, you're at Chorley, you're enjoying that. You're going to get a little bit of investment. Where do you want to see yourself going forward in the future?
I mean, we were playing National League football last year, and it was an unbelievable experience for me, having some really, really big clubs come into into Victory Park, and that. I just want us to be a National League side with a good pitch, not train on the pitch, kick the BTEC lads off, kick the under-21s, and I'll be happy with 23 games a year, mate. So we can all dream. We can all dream, like, so. That's my ideal world, mate.
Absolutely. Well, we're not going to touch on the stuff with Wolves. Maybe we'll come back to that in a few weeks' time. We might have another chat in a few weeks about that. But hopefully it's not as cold, it's not as snowy. You don't need a big tent, and you don't need to sleep over, and things go a little bit smoother. And I'm pretty sure that everybody apart from Wolves fans are going to be sat there supporting Chorley when the match comes around. So good luck with it. Thanks,
mate. But I'll tell you what, listen, when we beat Wolves and we play Arsenal, because we potentially got either Southampton or Arsenal, we'll have another conversation about it.
Brilliant.
Right, thanks,
Enjoy. Nice one,
right. Alex, thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
No worries at all. Give me a sec. I'll just pause it. Give me a sec.